Good to see you. How's the energy? That's awesome. So obviously, I have some great questions. I think they're great. But if I asked all of you if you could guess what Gabrielle is going to do on Sunday, I think most of you would be able to guess it. What do you think she's going to do? Great. Correct. What's something else she's going to do?
That too, yes, very much so.
Okay, tell them. What are you going to do?
Well, I'm really excited because, as you guys know, hello, Gabrielle, Wesley, so happy to be here with you guys today. In addition to watching the big game, we have the privilege of managing the Skittles brand, and Skittles is actually filming a live Super Bowl commercial where consumers who have purchased Skittles through our partnership with GoPuff could enter a chance to have a live Super Bowl commercial filmed on their front lawn. And we have had hundreds of submissions, and we have selected a fan, and we are filming that commercial on Sunday, and we'll air live during the big game.
Talking about becoming sort of part of the fabric of culture, you've had just such an amazing career, and you've talked about success is when marketing and sales operate as one seamless consumer strategy. You are also the CMO and navigating fragmented audiences, unpredictable consumer behavior, inflation, a media landscape that becomes more complex by the day. How are you doing? Like, as a CMO, like what is life like?
It's very exciting and also very dynamic. I would say that it is a very dynamic time to be a marketer. I'm going to date myself just a little bit. But I remember the days when I started in marketing where you had a TV ad, a print ad, and a FSI freestanding insert ad, right? So all of my longtime marketers remember that. And that's, back in the 1800s when, life was a little bit simpler, right? Now there are so many ways that you can reach consumers, infinite ways to reach consumers, and they talk back, right? They come back to you like it's an engagement. It's not just one-way messaging. It is an engagement. It's a conversation. And so you have to be, one, a constant learner, constantly understanding that the new thing hasn't been invented yet, and it's coming. And when it comes, you have to be ready to learn it. I think the second thing is that you also have to just be open to how consumers experience your brand that may be a little different than how you want them to, right? The brands now belong to the consumer, and they get to shape that through their advocacy. So being very, very well versed in understanding how to talk back, how to engage, and how to leverage and understand where your consumers are. I heard Zoe before this talk about being consumer obsessed. You guys have heard me talk about, like, I'm obsessed with consumer obsession, being wherever a consumer even thinks about treating themselves or chewing is where we try to be, everywhere, right? And so, and you can't put limits. And I think the third thing is just to be bold and to try new things, creating environments where your teams can try and pioneer and iterate, I think is really important in being a marketer in this day and age.
Outside, you and I talked about the need for experimentation. So in a world that's changing, I guess the only meaningful way to kind of stay ahead of competition is to learn faster than the competition and get better sort of quarter over quarter, year over year. Like, talk to us about experimentation and how you organize your teams on that. I think that is incredibly exciting, and sort of the concept of always be learning.
Yeah, I think in order to learn, I always think about the term of resilience. The scary thing about resilience is you can't be resilient unless you fail, right? Unless you have a setback. So you get resilience by repeatedly going through things, getting knocked down and coming back up, getting down and coming back up. And when I look for leaders, especially marketing leaders, I'm not necessarily looking at how many times you've succeeded. I'm looking at how you operate and how you move when you don't, right? Because in this area of constant learning, there are going to be setbacks. If you're not taking risks, if it's everything works out great, you're not taking enough risk, right? And so as a leader, it's really important for me to create an environment where my team feels safe psychologically, to be able to do new things and for them not to work out. I celebrate when we learn something or we don't get something right, because that means we pushed far further than we could ever do. You know, in order to get anything done right, you got to do it at least twice, right? The first time you do it, you learn. And if you do a great job, that's great. But the second time you do it, you're going to push yourself even further. And so I think that's what's important. It's about building leadership. It's about building resilience. And it's about rewarding when people have courage to do things like film a live
like
ad.
Do a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Ad.
During Super Bowl, yes.
I think, you know, as for all the leaders in the room, creating an environment where people dare to take risks and also accept, I think let me play it back and tell me if I got it wrong, but this idea that you do something which might fail or look as a failure, but it might, second time you do it, it might turn out to be a success. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you operate in a CPG landscape where it's really defined in some ways by the erosion of the historical boundaries between brand building and commercial transactions, and kind of the walls are blurring between brand and performance as well. And under your leadership, you've taken Mars Wrigley basically pioneering an operational model known as One Demand. One, talk to us about it. It kind of reads simple, but I'm sure it's not.
I think the age-old conflict between marketing and sales, right? So you think about sales. Once you learn what the objective and agenda is for sales versus marketing, I think that's where One Demand sits in that intersection. I've been fortunate in my career to both be in sales and as a marketer. I think my sales experience helped me to be a better marketer, in order to create this whole idea of One Demand. And what One Demand is that all of us, sales, marketing, anybody that is generating demand, the consumer is at the heart of it, and it's through our customer, right? So in the classic CPG environment, we sell to customers, but we market to consumers, right? And so if you think about a full funnel, we're all responsible for the entire funnel, from awareness to consideration to conversion. regardless of whether you're in sales and marketing. And I would tell you that having a partnership with sales in order to get to the consumer through the customer is the biggest unlock to demand generation. No longer are we marketers that only think about the future, and no longer are we salespeople who only think about the present. We all have to think about the consumer at any time frame, all the time, through our customers. And so that is the philosophy of One Demand. Now, operationally, how that works is
talk to us about that.
You have to have the same objectives.
Yeah.
Your objectives have to be the same, whether that's in market and it's in market, in period, in year, and for future. So my sales leadership team, they have the same objectives as my marketing leadership team as it relates to numbers. We're all trying to get to the same agenda. And that took some time and some convincing to do. But when you start to see the benefit and the demand generation and the connectivity, and your customers are responding to it because your customer wants that as well, you start to see that benefit happen, and it becomes a movement. And that's, I think, what we have at Mars right now.
I mean, it sounds so simple. How many have tried and failed at creating connection between marketing and sales? Just raise your hand if you're struggling with it. Nobody's struggling?
Everybody. You see a lot of people.
Okay, some are, yeah. But what is, like, in practical terms, what are some of the mechanisms that you looked at in order to create this movement?
Yeah, I would say everybody on my leadership team has sales experience. So there is a benefit to what salespeople call carrying the bag, right? So they respond better to someone who's also carried the bag at some point in time. And I do think, like I said, when I first went into sales, I realized, this is high pressure, to deliver. And so when you are able to add value to someone who is only thinking about how to finish the period, how to finish the quarter, how to finish the year, if you can make that person's job easier, better, be of value, be a resource for them, you've built partnership. And they're wanting to reciprocate that. And I think that that's what's helpful. Like I take salespeople into my marketing organization all the time. It's very, very tough for them to switch from short-term to long-term thinking, right? But they're better off for it.
That's awesome. Love that. In that concept, how does that translate to working with agency partners? Because I know you have a strong point of view there too, around sort of the One Mars.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the agency partners are part of your ecosystem, right? And they are only as good as the brief that you give them. And so everybody has to be very clear on what the brief is. Brief's not 40 pages. The brief's not 3 pages. The brief is what it is. It is brief, right? It should be brief, because what a brief does is it opens the door. It creates the environment, the stage for creativity. And so if the brief is not brief, then you're not briefing, right? You're not briefing. So that's where it comes in at. And then also holding our agency partners accountable to the full funnel. Being very clear, every piece of creative should not do all the things. That's another thing. We want the creative to be funny, to drive conversion, drive awareness, do handstands, all of those things. That's when the brief is not a brief. It should be you should have an ecosystem of assets that all work together, not for one thing to do all the things. And so I think that as long as you're working in partnership with your agency through the funnel, and really focused on conversion, because I think a lot of times the fun stuff is the awareness. You know, I think the interesting thing about being on the Mars Wrigley side is we are privileged and cursed not to have an awareness problem, right? So people know M&Ms. You know, we don't have to continue to tell them what that is, but we do have to continue to make it relevant. And so mid funnel and lower funnel becomes really important. And those are things that are explicit in our brief.
Love that. Does that resonate? How do your teams make the same consumer strategy show up coherently across touch points, from NFL moments, as we just talked about? So I know you have many of your customers here during the week, sort of to retail media, to the shelf.
Yeah, it's about having a clear purpose. So a great example for on our team is Snickers in the NFL. We are the official chocolate of the NFL and of the game experience, right? And so we want to be that dessert. We want to be that treat that is accompanying all the wings and nachos and all of the things that people have during their game day moment. So in that is our purpose. Now, how we message that really depends on what the media is. So what we do on TikTok is very different than what we do on Reddit or what we would do on linear TV or FEP. So all of those things are different. The message, the spirit is the same, but how we do that is fit for platform. And I think that's what's key.
Do you have an example? Like, is anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, so I would say I'll give an example of with the NFL. So we had this year a wonderful partnership with Josh Allen. For those of you who are not football fans, he happened to be the MVP last year, and he's the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. Sorry for the Bills fans. I'm just as upset that he's not here playing this year in Super Bowl. We thought this was the year as well. But the way that we activated against that, we had a television spot featuring Josh. We had a series of creative assets about different things that he's done. We also worked in partnership with him to develop some Snickers sauces. Josh is on the ground at Buffalo. Buffalo's noted for wings. Josh is a big foodie, so we partnered with a local Buffalo chef to create 3 Snickers sauces with the distinctive assets of Snickers: a caramel buffalo, which was delicious, a peanut teriyaki that tastes like kind of peanut sauce, and a chocolate barbecue. And it was amazing, and it got a lot. It sold out in like less than a minute. We offered that, but these are the types of experiences that we do that connects our brand to the NFL experience. And if you guys do get a chance, we do have an NFL experience here in San Francisco, not too far from here, where you get a chance to spend some time with in our Snickers experience. So if you've ever wanted to like throw a football, kick a football, or run routes like they do in the combine, stop by our NFL experience and fulfill your NFL rookie experience.
I love the flexibility and the experimentation that you're demonstrating in order to create a more holistic brand experience and make your brands continue to be so relevant. Are there like a consumer signal or signals that you refuse to ignore? Like, are there consumer signals that that will kind of take you in a certain direction?
Yeah, I think the biggest example of that is with Skittles. A couple of years ago, we brought back the lime flavor of Skittles because for many years when we switched from lime to green apple, consumers let us know that they were not happy with that. And over and over and over again. And so we leveraged the consumers talking back to us and telling that to develop a campaign called Apologize the Rainbow, where everyone that said, please bring back lime, we apologize for them for taking so long for bringing lime back. And we sent apology letters to everyone as it relates to that, and had a wonderful campaign. And consumers are very happy to have lime back. Now, there are a few consumers that are still saying, can you bring green apple back? So we're figuring out how they live together, maybe. We're still trying to figure that out. But, when consumers are telling you what they like, what they want, listen, because they really appreciate that engagement. They want to feel heard.
It sounds like a conversation I had with my wife last night, where she was like, listen, yeah.
It is a relationship. That's what you want. You do want a relationship with your consumers, yeah. And you want them to love you enough to tell you the truth, right?
Oh, so true, so true. Thank you for sharing. I think these examples really, I think, at least for me, I don't know about you, but it helps me contextualize what it means, like in day to day and in reality, in terms of actually doing the work. You leverage sports and cultural spikes, kind of both as launch pads for innovation and trial. You talked about it. But what turns a hype moment into a repeatable demand system rather than kind of a 1 week spike?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that's really important is to understand what your brand is about, so that your brand is naturally in places where it authentically should be, right? So one of the things that's important to us is we shouldn't need to insert ourselves into a cultural moment, because those things feel inauthentic. If we're already there, if our consumers are already talking about us in that way, then we have a right to play in that space, right? We're already there. And I feel really, really privileged and fortunate that consumers naturally love our products. So we get to mine and hear how they're using our products, what they enjoy doing, and their rituals behind them. And then it makes it such that we are supposed to be in those spaces. Yeah. If we're not in those spaces for cultural moments, we're not going to insert ourselves, because that's going to be disingenuous to what our brands are about. If it's not fun, we're not doing it, right? And so if we're not authentically supposed to be there, consumers will let you know. They will invite you in. We've had consumers across plenty of platforms to say, where's Skittles in this? Or, I need my Skittles here, or, Twix and all of those brands there. Our consumers talk back to us, and it's our important job to listen.
It feels like you've been creating almost like a sensing system where you're picking up on all these small data points and, small moments where consumers are hinting at where to go. How do you build a sensing system? Yeah.
So I look for marketers that are obsessed and know how to be obsessed. We know how to be obsessed with something. If you are watching any show right now, I'm super obsessed with The Pit. That is I love that. So love that show. I think I'm an honorary doctor because of all of the medical shows that I watch. but you want to know, like, oh, what things have this actor been in before? Or, if you found yourself Googling some of the diseases that you hear on there and just weren't, that's obsession. We should be doing that with our consumer. We know what obsession looks like, but we need to apply it to our consumers, knowing all the things that they're interested in that way, and how obsessed they are with us and our brands.
That's so good. Listen, Gabrielle, I think we're sort of coming up, but you frequently stated that marketers can't just speak the language of marketing. They have to speak the language of business. Is there a metric that you have found that's sort of more reliably predicts both brand lift and commercial lift in the business? Or how do you speak the language of business?
Yeah, it's both. It's long-term equity and performance. They go hand in hand. It's not one or the other. They have to complement and walk hand in hand in the sand together, right? So what I would say is, no, there's never been a time more now that volume and demand generation is on every leader's objective, right? And as a marketer, demand generation, that's us. We should be raising our hand, yes, because we know how to generate demand. And your partners will listen as it relates to how we're growing volume. And so you need to have as much of a stake into business as it is with the marketing and the advertising and the comms. And the only way to do that is to understand the business of demand generation. And that's the value that you're going to provide to your leaders.
I think we end on that one. That was pretty good, wasn't it? Yeah. Thank you so much, Gabrielle.
Thank you for having me. Oh, now we're going to watch the brief, the 60-second of what's going on with Skittles this weekend.
You want some Skittles?
Yeah, I do.
You know, most teenagers order candy from an app.
Well, most teenagers don't have a Skittles horn.
I don't think you get it. I didn't sign up for this. I have no free will.
Yeah, which is great.
It really isn't. But you know what is great? If you go on Go Puff, you can see how Skittles is delivering their big game commercial starring Elijah Wood to someone's house.
They'll really deliver it to my house?
They'll perform it on your lawn.
What if I'm not home?
Well, that's kind of on you, isn't it?
Do I get to keep it?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but you'd have to read the terms and conditions.
Who's Elijah Wood?
Who's Elijah Wood?
Who is Elijah Wood?
Who is Elijah Wood?
Less talk, more Skittles.
Please don't do that!
Deliver the rainbow. Take.